Okay, the first thing you will notice is that when you open the emulator, it will go to this screen. On this screen you have all the plugins you have to set. Okay, as for the video plugin, you will need to use one of these two. SS4 is for newer machines, so probably you won't be able to use it if you have a low-end one. So stick with PCSX2 unless it lets you use this one. The thing is, if you cannot use this, the emulator will tell you you are not allowed. I'm gonna stick with this one because I can use it. Go to configure. Okay, in here you will have to see which one of these options you can select. The hardware version are the fastest one, also the ones that looks the better, so stick with these ones. On older machines, Direct 3D will be slower than OpenGL, so stick with OpenGL. Now one thing, if you go to software, this will be like the PS2 actually does work. So it's emulating the old system the PS2 had, which is super expensive on the CPU, and it will work really bad if you have a low-end machine. So don't use it unless it's, for example, on Silent Hill Origins. The interlacing, just leave it like this on automatic. Texture filtering, okay, these three won't make much difference, but if it does not work really good for you, go for nearest. This is the fastest one. It's not a big change, but it's a few frames of difference, so stick with the one you need the most. I'm gonna go for bilinear PS2 because that works for me. Remember, this video is made in an Intel 5 with an integrated GPU, which is the Intel 620. It's really bad, but as you will see, it will work. Now, this option, you will never use this option on an old machine. It will be super expensive on the RAM, and it will be super expensive on the GPU. So don't use it at all. So far, this is mostly related to your CPU. This comes for the GPU. Okay, native is the same resolution the PS2 had, which was 512 or something like that. This is the fastest one, also the ugliest one. It will be pixelated, but as you are using a hardware mode, it will be using the DLL library from the operational system, so it looks better than a PS2, but it will be pixelated as a PS2. Stick with this or this. 720p is okay for this machine, so I'm gonna stick with this one. Don't go higher than this unless you have a mid-class CPU, because it will be super laggy. The anisotropic filter won't take much, but it's like 4 or 5 frame skips, so leave it on off. Mip maps, it's super expensive, so leave it at fast or off. There's not much difference between these two, but it's a big difference for this one. Never go auto, okay? This leave it in automatic, it won't matter because you won't be using any hack, so leave it like that. Okay, data accuracy is also expensive on the machine, so leave it at fast or off. Blending accuracy, okay, this one will make the games look much better at higher options, but then again it will be super expensive. Now, there is not much difference between none and recommended, so go for recommended, unless you have a really slow machine like I don't know, an i3. If you have an i3, go for the fastest one. This option only applies if you're going to use a hack. You won't use a hack. This was set for certain specific games. For example, on Silent Hill 3, the USA version, you have a lot of problems with the shadows, and you have to auto flash, disable safe text features. It will look without shadows, it will have garbage, but as I already integrated this on the main plugin, you won't use it. Also, you will have to use the Silent Hill 3 European version, which is in English as well, so there won't be any problem. And that version has a correction in the code which makes the shadows look pretty much the same as the PS2. Now here's where things get interesting. This tab, you won't touch it, but this one here is the shadow configuration. This option, it's super expensive on the GPU, so don't use it. It will take like 15 frames. Use this one or don't use it. It's 3 frames, so probably you will notice if you have it on. And this one has no cost at all, but it has a lot of gaming. This is what which makes the shadows and the lighting of the game looks much better. You will see that later on the video. Just leave it on. Well, the scanline filters is exactly the same. I don't like scanlines, but sometimes people say, oh, you gotta play those games with scanlines, so it's up to you. Well, this covers the GPU configuration. Now let's move to the pad. Use LilyPad. It's the best option you have on the simulator. Now make sure you have all devices, because if not, you will have to know exactly which kind of pad you are using. For example, X input is for the X360 or Xbox One joypads. The X USB is for the generic USB joysticks for the PC. But if you leave it like this, it will take any single joystick you have. Well, the configuration is pretty much basic, so I won't explain that. SPU2 is the sound system. On lower end configurations, you will have to use this one, because others, if you go higher, it will sound much better, but it will be laggy as well. So leave it at linear. This will be okay. It's not much of a difference from a real PS2. Otherwise, try Hermite, which will have better hikes. But that's up to you and up to the computer. If you want a fast, lagless sound, stick with linear. Now, these options are pretty much the same if you use Direct Sound or XLU2. XLU2 is the recommended because it's the most compatible one, but it has no difference on the sound output, so stick it with this one. Here you will have 3 options. Don't use this one. This one has some problems, so don't use it. Now, if you're going to use a real DVD, for example, I don't know, Silent Hill 4 on the DVD drive, you will have to use this option and configure it. This laptop does not have a DVD drive, so I can set anything. If it's an old computer, probably you will have an ASCII one. So stick with that, and caching mode, you will have to use a sync read, which is faster, and don't wait until the drive is ready. In here you will have to use the letter of the drive you are using. If this doesn't work, then try with this option. I'm gonna cancel it because I don't have one. This is pretty much easy. It has no much complications, so let's stick with the other one. Okay, Linux ISO is the best option for using images for two reasons, which I'm going to show you right now. The first one is because you can use pretty much a regular image, but it has a plus. This is not an ISO, and I will cover that here. If you select an ISO, you can compress it. This compression is mainly from this emulator. You won't be able to use that image anywhere else except here with PCSX2. You select visit compressor and then press compress ISO. It will start to catch all the information in a green bar, which will take around 10 or 15 minutes. And once you finish doing that, it will pop up a message and you will have this. Now, these two files are the game. This is the compressed game, this is the information table, which contains all the mapping for the information. This game goes from 3.8 gigabytes to 2.4, so it's really compressing the image, and it will work. Okay, this is already done. You have to use this tree, you won't change it. The BIOS comes with the emulator, stick with the one you prefer. Then let's go to the emulation settings. You have an old PC, so you will need to use speed hacks. Now, these are the regular speed hacks. Usually these are enough to boost your games, unless you have a super old computer in which you will have to use the EE cycle or cycle rate. These options are pretty much unstable, so if you don't know how to use it properly, you will wreck the game. So unless this doesn't work, start to try moving one by one. You see? Now, this one goes to the right, okay? Try to set it like this. If it doesn't work, try this, then try this, then try this. I will explain how this works, but it's no sense, so leave it like that. Game fixes. Most of the times video output won't have problems with the FMV movies, but some computer does have those problems. If you have a problem with the movies of the games in hardware mode, just stick with this option. This will change the plugin to software mode whenever an FMV movie is playing. It will be a little bit less, I don't know how to explain it. It will go a little bit, but it's the best option you have if the videos aren't playing pretty much well. Okay. Before you start, you will have to select plugin here on the CD/DVD option. So stick with plugin, then go to plugin menu, plugin settings, and here's where you select the ISO or the compressed image. I have selected Silent Hill 3, and then you go here and boot the DVD. I'm going to show you a few things. Probably you will see the video lagging or something. It's because of the OBS streamer, which is really heavy on my computer, but usually this will be at 100%. Then again, remember I'm using a streamer program, the emulator. I have a lot of memory used in this program, so it's lagging like hell because of that. If you use just the emulator, it will be at 100%, so don't worry. Okay, now that I have enough lighting, I will show you something. This is what I want to show you. Now, if you turn off, the game will look exactly like it used to look on PC or PS2. Which is like this. Notice how the floor changes. I'm gonna turn it up again. See the difference? So it makes things look better, and if you have a preference for scan lines, you can press F7. And it will look like this. This is the scanline mode. Well, that pretty much covers everything you need to know. If you have any question, you can always ask me. There's no problem. And the same configuration will work for Silent Hill 4. So try it for yourself.